Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to episode 16 of the MGF Podcast. This is the show without a name where we talk movies, Lego games, and whatever else. And joining me as always is Tate.
I hope everybody's having a great Sunday today. And this week we're going to be doing something a little bit different than we have been. We're going to split the podcast up into two sections. We're going to be doing a section just about kind of relevant pop culture for the past week, kind of the news segment that we've been doing. And then we're going to go into more discussion topics, which for this week are going to be Halo, because I just played through half the Halo franchise for the very first time. Ross is actually running me through it, so we're going to talk about that. And then Ross brought up a really, really interesting topic for this week. We're going to be talking superhero no-kill rule and why some heroes follow it and some don't. But anyway, starting off, Ross, your figures.
Yeah, so the Avengers Endgame showcases, of course, are moving forward. As you guys over on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, if you follow me there, probably already saw the teaser photo of Cap, who I've been working on the most recently, and he's coming along really nicely. Been working on his legs since that photo, gearing up for a making of photo as we build toward the first showcase that will feature both Tony in the Iron Man Mark 85 with the wings and all along with Cap. That'll be the first showcase, and then I'm going to start working on Black Widow, who actually already got started on, and then I'll get started on Ronan a little bit, along with the big guy Thanos, and throw Thor somewhere in there, and the Endgame showcases are moving forward. But yeah, I'm really happy with how they're turning out. I mean, I've completely abandoned any former structure that I used to abide by in terms of expediting figures. It's just really been a fun process as I've just kind of taken my time to really ensure these figures look exactly how I want them to, and don't fall short of that. And I think so far with Tony and Cap, it has really worked out. And I think that it's good though, because I mean, this is the last chance that I'm going to have to make new Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, and Thanos figures, and so it's coming along really nicely, and I appreciate everybody being so patient with me, and I appreciate everybody joining in here to hang out with us for a little bit.
Yeah, can we just take a second to look at this shot that we have pulled up on screen right now. I mean, how iconic. Oh my word.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of them so far. It's going to be, it's still a long road ahead, but I'm enjoying it. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to be really crazy shooting those videos. I think about that a lot. Like, what's that going to be like actually when I get there and I'm ready to shoot this first video? It's going to be my last showcase featuring a new Iron Man suit and a new Steve Rogers Captain America costume. That's just so weird to me. I mean, granted, I still have hopes to make their original 2012 costumes and, Cap and the stealth suit from Winter Soldier, but it's like, that's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it was crazy last night seeing Endgame one last time as well. But
we will talk about that momentarily. But before that, we have to talk about Toy Story 4. We're going to be talking non-spoilers to begin with, and then we're going to go into spoilers. But Ross, you saw Toy Story 4 last Monday, right? Something like that.
When did we do the podcast? Yeah, it was last Monday.
Something like that. And yeah, initial thoughts, because the viewers have already heard mine.
Yeah, man. So, well, they've heard your non-spoilers.
Right.
And
yes, true.
So, no spoilers. We're not doing spoilers for now. I think Tate will have updated the slide, and then when we do get to spoilers, we'll switch it to that one, and you'll know. We'll make sure to announce that if you haven't seen Toy Story 4. But for now, no spoilers. To preface, of course, like everyone, Toy Story was a major part of my childhood, of Tate's childhood, and pretty much most kids on the planet. I mean, it's Toy Story, man, and Toy Story 4. They've been working on this for what, Tate? It's like 4 or 5 years,
Something
longer.
Insane. Something absolutely crazy.
I mean, that's nuts. And I haven't seen Toy Story 1, 2, or 3 in a long time. It's been a really long time. I mean, so long that I look back at some scenes in Toy Story 1 recently, and I was like, wow, Toy Story 1 looked like that.
24 years old, though. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it was just jarring because of how long it's been. And it's crazy. It definitely is crazy how far the animation has come. But I mean, in terms of expectations, for the most part, it seemed like Toy Story 4 might have been ever so slightly controversial, if anything, when it first dropped. But for the most part, Toy Story 4 has been met with world-renowned praise, and rightfully so. And of course, the big thing going in, we kind of talked about this last week, was is Toy Story 4 a necessary movie? Because how well Toy Story 3 wrapped things up. Why do we need Toy Story 4? And in the way that the original trilogy concluded, that chapter of Star Wars, and the same with the prequels, you're just kind of extending and creating new chapters in the universe. And the big question is, are those new chapters warranted? Is Toy Story 4 warranted? And yeah, man, I mean, I would say so. They can get another 3 movies out of this. After seeing Toy Story 4, I absolutely think they can get at least another movie or 2 following this, and set it up to be a saga now instead of a trilogy. And I don't think Toy Story 4 is necessarily a masterpiece like the first 3. I don't necessarily. I mean, I would, if like, and this is kind of hard to say, but I mean, if I were to play Toy Story 4 with any of the other 3 movies, I would definitely put it at the back. But that's not really saying much because they're all amazing. It's like Star Wars.
This is where Ross and I begin to disagree, because I
like
genuinely think I enjoyed this movie more than I enjoyed Toy Story 1, far more than I enjoyed Toy Story 3. And I have actually, over the past week, watched the 3 Toy Story movies, and just kind of through quality of jokes and quality of pacing, I mean, I think this movie is superior to
and see, I haven't, 3. Like I said, I haven't rewatched Toy Story 1, 2, or 3 in a while, so...
Yeah, but Toy Story 2, oh my gosh, is that the best Pixar movie ever made? Probably. I mean, jeez, dude. Oh my gosh. I'm watching that movie and they really just know where to hit you. And I feel like a lot of the spirit from Toy Story 2 is actually present in this movie.
Why is that?
Well, so you have a lot of emotionally straining scenes in Toy Story 2, right? You have all the Emily sequences with Jessie.
Right.
You have the great... You have Al's Toy Barn, the great set pieces there. You have the adventurous nature of the toys. You have near perfect pacing, absolutely revolutionary computer generated everything, computer animation. And I just see that rhyming so much with the set pieces in Toy Story 4. You have, well, I don't want to spoil anything. I was going to spoil right there, but you have the opening scene that's has high stakes and is heart-wrenching, and then you later on in the movie, I mean, the set pieces just mirror Al's Toy Barn so well, in my opinion, with the antique shop, and the feelings you get from the lost toy scenes with Emily and Jessie. I mean, they're ever present here. I mean, that's what the franchise is about, right? Connecting a toy to a person, and I don't know, man. I mean, this movie feels like Toy Story 2. 2.5 with theming and quality, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, and like structurally, the movie's amazing. I mean, it flows perfectly the whole way through. The characters, all the new characters, are all fantastic. I mean, Bo Peep is amazing in this one.
Yes.
I mean, this is her best movie, obviously.
Right. And I almost consider her a new character in this one, because she had like 1 line in the first movie and then 2 lines in the second movie.
Yeah, she was barely in the original Toy Story movies, and so it's pretty cool, man. I think that the way they portray the toys in this movie was really cool, because the first 3 movies are obviously so focused on the toys just trying to stay with their kid, with Andy, right? Or trying to find purpose through a kid when they realize Andy's moving on, but this whole movie is covering what toys around the world are like who don't have kids, because the toys who are with kids, it's actually considered a pretty prestigious, like kind of like a privileged thing.
Right. So with this movie,
which is really cool.
You're seeing almost a class divide of kids, of toys with kids and toys without. But instead of it being a black and white situation, they paint both sides as credible and as almost advantageous and equally opportunistic sides, which is a really interesting dynamic that is hard to see, but is definitely there to unpack.
Yeah, and I actually, I don't want to say like this was like toy civil war or anything, but I mean, there's a moment, I'm sure you know a moment I'm talking about, where the characters kind of have a disagreement, and I found myself actually, not agreeing with the characters who you are seemingly supposed to agree with.
Right.
And I thought that was really interesting. I mean, in terms of emotional stakes in this movie, it was very inventive and very different and unique compared to the first three. I mean, the
This
things they wrangle with and the things they tackle in just this one day, this one night that this movie happens, it is pretty nuts.
So
For these characters.
what I would say is that this is the most mature Toy Story film. At least that's what I felt myself thinking, due to the themes, due to things not being cookie cutter, due to things not
Yeah,
being up to it, like things aren't black and white, as I said earlier.
right.
And it's really really interesting to see how the characters deal with that. And I'm really looking forward to what happens in Toy Story 5 and onward with this as a launch point, so to speak.
Right.
But
And,
I loved
and
this movie. I really did. I really thought it was great.
like you said last week, at least I think you said it last week on the show. This movie is in a way kind of like the end game to Toy Story,
Right.
right? In the sense that they're closing a chapter and opening a new one. And
It's just an easy
it,
comparison to make because of pop
it's an easy
culture.
comparison to make because it's very simple. You have pretty much the same emotions by the end of this movie,
Right.
where it's just you're kind of like, wow, where do we go from here? And that's really, that's exactly what happens at the end. Toward the end of Toy Story 4, you're left, kind of thinking like, how do we move forward? And I think it's going to be interesting to see how they make another movie or two out of this. And I really hope that whatever movies they make, this one and the following, whatever comes next, will mean as much to the new generation as they did to us when we were kids. Because that's Toy Story is timeless in a way that really transcends everything. I mean, like Toy Story is timeless in a stronger way than Star Wars is. It's weird how, because like Tate, there's no kid who watched Toy Story, whether our generation or this generation, who wasn't deeply affected by it,
True.
whose life wasn't Toy Story. Any kid who saw it just made a lasting mark on that kid's life, whether it be us or who, and that's crazy to me.
See, the best thing
Because
with
like
that.
other franchises, I'm sorry, as great as the Incredibles are, like the Incredibles can't do that,
No.
and various other franchises really don't have that the way Toy Story
So
does.
the best thing with Toy Story is the source material is so easy to relate to because it's so childish and we've all been there, but it also respects the audience. These are kids' movies, not just to blindly entertain kids, but it's to show them and teach them values, right? We have fun sequences, but we also have respectable sequences. We have genuine struggles that these characters are going through. And it's not pandering to children. It's not pandering to adults. It is genuine and respectful, and I cannot
Mhm.
give. I mean, this might be the most enjoyable movie I've watched in 2019 because of how much respect it has for the source material, not the source material, but for the audience.
Yeah.
And it just brings me back to Toy Story 2. I mean, that movie respects the child audience. Doesn't try to be, it doesn't try to overdo the whole entertaining aspect. It doesn't try to be the Emoji Movie or the Angry Birds movie. It just tries to
See,
be a respectful and respectable kids movie, and
how
it makes it
awesome
so
is that,
enjoyable.
by the way? Like that they can still do that, and that Pixar and Disney are proving that that's still possible. Like I just feel like we're seeing less and less of that as we look to say the Star Wars franchise,
Right.
as instead of making everything accessible to everyone like Star Wars always was pre Disney, they isolate the fans into groups,
Right.
and I think that's a shame.
Oh yeah, no, it's like okay. So with something like Star Wars, right, you have certain motifs in the movies that are directly that are directly targeted towards one group, right?
Right, and you have that in Toy Story as well, but it's the balance of that.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Again.
Right. That's what I was going to say. That the action scenes or the fun scenes don't pander to kids, and the adult jokes do not pander to adults. Right. There are things in this movie that can be seen and respected by everyone. Right. And I don't know how to talk about the specific scenes without going into spoilers. So, Ross, are you ready to switch over?
Yeah, so I mean, final closing, no spoiler thoughts on Toy Story 4. I would say it reached my expectations. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it is definitely a worthy follow-up to Toy Story 3. It's really great. I mean, if I would give Toy Story 4 an 8 out of 10, I would say.
I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10.
There you go, man.
This was a great movie. I mean, shoot, I don't like to give movies grades, and I think I gave it a 9 out of 10 last week. I mean, that's why I don't like to give ratings.
Helps. I mean, yeah, I think at this point, ratings for movies are also pretty arbitrary. I mean,
they're pretty arbitrary, but like
it is what
like this is my favorite movie that I've seen in 2019 because of just like how respectful it is, how it panders to no one, how everyone can find something to enjoy about this movie. I mean, I really am trying to find criticisms, and the criticisms I have are just nitpicks.
Right? Oh, same.
There's tiny nitpicks that are unnecessary. Is this the greatest movie ever made? No, but it's close. It is one rung under the cinematic grades. I mean, this movie should go down in history. Unfortunately, I don't think it will, because Toy Story kind of had its time. But oh man, did they do something special. Anyway, spoilers. We're going to switch.
So if you have not seen Toy Story 4, this would be your cue to click off. Hopefully come back and check out the VOD after you've seen the movie. Maybe save the timestamp. If you have not seen Toy Story 4 and you are one of the people watching, then strongly recommend you click away, but we've really enjoyed having you.
All right, so here we go. Spoilers. I'm going to do my trademark and just start at the end. Dude, Dad gets arrested.
No,
well,
he doesn't get.
That's no, he doesn't get arrested.
He comes close, man.
See, so that's the example. That's the example I have of jokes that can be respected by both adults and kids. You know, making fun of Dad, sending him to jail. Everybody knows what that means, right? It's funny, right? It's funny for everyone. Duke Kaboom being the greatest stuntman alive because he can crash. That's funny for everyone. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not exclusive. So like I like to contrast this with things in Star Wars, like making like the whole Holdo and Rose situations. I'm going to assume that was more so for social justice fans, which I have no problem with. I just think that the way the characters were handled were for those fans. Right? You have large action sequences like the light speed in front of the I don't remember what kind of cruiser it was, but you know what I'm talking about, right? The sacrifice, Holdo's sacrifice, that's meant, more so for the male fans that are there to watch action. And you just don't get that with this movie. Everything, despite there being targeted audiences for each scene, like the Key and Peele scenes are more so geared towards adults, they can still be respected by kids. Right, I heard kids in the theater laughing at all of the things I was laughing at, just because of how ridiculous some of the things were. They didn't know that the Key and Peele scenes were like Shining references and War of the Worlds references, but they didn't have to. I mean, that's what makes this movie so special.
I love those Key and Peele characters. I really didn't think they were going to stand out the way they did, and like you said, we talked about this I think off air, but it was like, they didn't steal the show in any way, but they were just hilarious in every scene they were in.
And they added to the movie despite being annoying characters. They did not subtract from anything like how it was a
I mean, especially when they're devising a plan for how to obtain the key in the antique shop.
I felt like that dragged. I feel like that dragged, but that's just a nitpick. Honestly, it was still really funny.
I thought it was funny because it was just like, there are toys that just genuinely would not have a problem with revealing the existence of sentient toys. And they have to be stopped by their friends who are like, "No, don't do that." It makes you wonder how they haven't blown their cover all these years of being in that damn carnival.
Right. Oh man, I love the themes of old toys as well, like them being old carnival toys. It's glossed over pretty quick, but
Yeah.
it was nice. And then I mean, we see old toys theme with the antique toys, right? With Gabby Gabby and with the, not so much with the puppets, but with Gabby Gabby and with Ducky and Bunny. And I don't know, I really appreciate that dynamic. And then you also see, I mean, this movie is really about old toys. You know, you have Woody who's an old toy, you have Gabby Gabby who's an old toy. And it's really nice to see how different toys deal with their situations being old toys. To me, it's just interesting. That dynamic.
Yeah, the variety was really cool this time. I mean, and some cool revelations to me was also that Woody said he was crafted in like the 1950s.
Oh yeah, dude. Woody was Andy's grandpa's toy.
That's crazy to me. I mean, wow, was he kept in good shape?
Right. Well, I
mean,
we also have
like,
the scene
like,
Toy Story
like
2.
35, 40, 45 years passed on, and Woody still looked great with Andy. Like,
right, yeah. But also, you do have the refurbishment scene in Toy Story 2,
Right.
which I like to point out.
that helped
to
a
people.
lot.
But also, you have Toy Story 3 with the daycare and getting, super messed up through that. So, suspend your disbelief.
That voice box still works from the 50s, dude. I mean,
Jeez.
man, my stuff doesn't work from like 2005. But like you said, he did get refurbished, like, halfway
Tim
through.
asks a fun question. He says, Endgame, Avatar, Toy Story 4. For me, Toy Story 4. 100%.
What?
He's saying, which is your favorite out of Endgame, Avatar, Toy Story 4? I'd say Toy Story 4 would be my favorite out of those three.
That's rough, man, because
that's
I love
fun.
Endgame, but I've also got a lot of problems with Endgame. And I love Toy Story 4, but I don't think Toy Story 4 is like, life-changing.
Right. So the thing so this is kind of arbitrary, and this is a kind of a tangent conversation. But
Yeah, sure.
This also relates. Endgame is the product of 10 years of constant effort.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Toy Story 4 relies a lot on nostalgia, and it doesn't have that cultural impact because Toy Story as a franchise has been dead since 2010. And that's an
Right.
unfortunate statement, but that's just true.
But it's reality. I mean, it's
Right,
lived on.
Just like Halo, just like how Halo's kind of died after Halo 4 kind of situation. The fan base kind of left it by the wayside. Same thing here with Toy Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem with waiting too long and bringing a franchise back. And we kind of talked about this a little bit. I really hope the box office numbers are still going to be good. I mean, so far it's been breaking records. I mean, it's had a great time. Like we said, I just hope that by the time they get to a third movie, inevitably in this new trilogy, I imagine, which is what I would, I think that's what they're doing. 10 years from now, and they wrap this up again. It's like, I hope the box office will still look good, in 10 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
Because Toy Story, does not deserve to go out on a lull, right? But yeah, man, and I love the variety of the toys. I love the antique shop. The cat was hilarious. The little club underneath, like one of the dressers or whatever that was great. What was her name? Gabby. She was really great.
Oh yeah, and her motivations. I mean, now did she have a quick turnaround? Yes. Is this a kids movie? Yes. So I'm fine with it.
But I liked it because they didn't they made it, it was different because she wasn't, inherently evil. She just wanted the voice box.
Right. She wanted to be loved. And that was
That's
the
all.
only way to be loved.
So that didn't make,
and I
at first
love
they
the
made her
twist.
seem evil, and
I love the twist there when she reveals herself. When she reveals herself to the girl and she gets rejected.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, I saw that coming, man. I was like, this is not gonna.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I was like, it was good though because it was very real. It's like you're not just gonna have those magical moments every time, and just because they were going through a lot behind the scenes to get to that point, that kid picks up and is like, this is an old freaking doll, throw it back down. It's like, I think that's what a lot of girls would do in today. You just have better toys available than what
I guess
sitting around the antique shop. That's just very real, and I thought that was interesting. They went that route.
Yeah.
But
She wasn't Lotso. You know what I mean? Like she's just
yeah,
she's so much more complex
man,
than
Lotso was like he was a little bit of an extremist. That guy. Oh my gosh.
See. So like I have a lot of problems with Lotso personally. I wish he would have been more of a revolutionary than he was. I feel like he should have like sparked a toy revolution, if that makes sense.
Toy revolution. It'll be like
Something
yeah,
like that,
and
you know what I mean?
toys running the streets.
There you go. But but yeah, no, I wish it would have been something more so. I wish Lotso would have been more like Gabby Gabby, where he really just wants to be loved again. You know what I mean? And it was really nice to see that Gabby Gabby was like that and made her way easier to sympathize with than Lotso just being, I was thrown away and now I will, I will kill every toy who is happy because I'm not happy.
Hmm.
It was just, I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, I have to rewatch Toy Story 3, but I do remember his character being a little black and white.
Yeah, Gabby felt dynamic. A good antagonist, actually, a side antagonist, I guess you could say, or I mean, this is more so the main antagonist, the main conflict, Bo Peep. She's not a direct antagonist to the characters, but she is the antagonist of the story, right? She is showing Woody another way of life because there's only one way of life he's ever known, and then this is where the complexity starts showing in the movie, right? That there's more than just black and white in this universe. There's more than just living for one person, right?
Yeah,
and
like toys can go see the world, like people,
Right? Yeah, toys are in this movie more than any toys feel like people. Toys feel like actual sentient beings, right? I mean, it's incredible to me that they could pull this off so well. This dynamic of Woody and Bo Peep. Woody really trying to hold on to the past, really trying to hold on to what he's known, and then to break out of that at the end. So I mean, Woody's story comes very full circle, self-contained in this one movie. He's kept in the closet during playtime. Nobody wants to play with him at home.
That was rough.
And then you see it later on. Later on, he's trying to help her the best he can through Forky.
Right? Forky was hilarious, like the whole movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I thought Forky was going to be annoying, but he was not.
Yeah. So did I. I thought he was just kind of like a forced new character that we're supposed to care about. No, he works really well.
No, he works really well. But anyway, you have Woody creating more purpose through Forky, and then as soon as he does that, because I thought the whole movie would be about him convincing Forky, right? I really thought that would be the whole thing. But he convinces Forky at the beginning of the movie. So they really do a flip right there, where you think that's going to be the main conflict, but it's not. Then once he completes that goal, right, of making having Forky understand that he's a toy for Bonnie, right? As soon as he completes that,
Bonnie's trash.
Oh yeah, he's Bonnie's trash. But anyway, that happens, and I totally lost my trail of thought. But he completes that goal, and then as soon as he does that, like 30 minutes into the movie, he meets Bo Peep, right? And then him meeting Bo Peep is the turning point. Then he starts seeing that I don't have to just introduce toys to Bonnie. I can introduce toys to more than just Bonnie. I can introduce toys to everybody. And then he gives a voice box to Gabby, helps her find a kid. She finds her kid. He sees what that does for the kid and for Gabby, and he understands, purpose is put back into his life, and he's allowed to live forward now. And I just really, really appreciated that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, this is just a perfect realization of, you have a conversation about, like, say Toy Story 4 didn't exist, and you just think, man, I wonder where these characters would eventually go. Like, once Bonnie ages out, if they can't keep doing this forever, this is what I would see Woody doing. And I think that's really cool. That it's just like it's so perfect for his character. I mean, part of me was like, was it a little fast that in one movie we have the Bo Peep flashback for added context, and then inside of one movie he leaves everything behind from the last three iconic movies.
I don't think so, because I
don't think so.
Andy was his purpose. He was the toy. And even with the Bonnie scenes that we see towards the end of Toy Story 3, he was never Bonnie's toy. Not even a little bit. And then I think opening it up with the closet scene and showing that Woody's not being played with, and that and then reinvigorating his purpose when he goes to the first day of was it kindergarten or preschool? I don't remember. No, it was kindergarten because preschool was the movie before. But anyway, just to see Woody kind of dynamically change through the movie, because his purpose is to make a kid happy, right? But then he sees that through Forky. He does that. He fulfills his purpose, and then he goes forward, and then now he's doing it for every kid. So it really does make sense, because all he wants to do is please kids, right? I'm glad we're in the context of Toy Story with these remarks.
But Tate, where do you think they go from this?
So I think that they could do a really good plot. I think they could do a really, really good plot where it's, Woody and Bo Peep get thrown into some crazy situation, right? And then coincidentally, Buzz and the gang get lost, and then they all reconvene, and then, something big.
But would that not negate that ending scene a bit?
That's true. No, that's true. That's very, very true. I kind of want to see a story where it's Woody and Bo Peep doing their thing with the new toys, and then you have Buzz and the old gang, and I want to see like a real nice like meetup scene where it's been years and years, and everybody's convening, and then they separate again, just so we get more Buzz and Woody scenes. But Lego P keeps saying that this movie is the end.
That's hard, man. That's hard, because it's like, I feel like, say we get through another trilogy. We get to the end of this new trilogy. It's the third movie, and again, we're at the end. I feel like it should be, the final goodbye should be a goodbye between whatever characters we've now been following since Woody.
Yeah.
And also because I don't think Tom Hanks is going to want to come back after this either.
Right, yeah, but I do want to say, I mean, future of the franchise, like Lego P keeps saying that this is the end. We thought that about Toy Story 3.
No, right. You don't end on the fourth movie.
Right, exactly. We thought the Toy Story 3 was the definitive end, and then this caught us by surprise a few months ago. They could end on a fourth movie. Shrek did, but it didn't end well. But anyway. You can end here. You can. You could have ended in Toy Story 3. You could have ended in Toy Story 2. Right? They're going to keep making these movies.
It's just, Tate, this is so hard for me, because whichever direction they go, whether the next movie is strictly Woody and Bo Peep in their next adventure, I don't know how I feel about not having at least Buzz and Jessie around. That sounds awful to me. Yeah, but then in contrast, having a movie with just Buzz and Jessie and no Woody also sounds awful.
Right, and that's why I'm trying to craft this idea of a two-lane story.
Yeah.
Right, where you have the A plot, two A plots going on simultaneously. It'd be super hard to pull off, and I know I couldn't write a script for it, but I feel like the masterminds at Pixar could.
It would be very challenging, I think, to fully satisfy with what direction they've taken the story now in future installments. But I will say that final scene with Woody.
Oh no.
Tate, I've talked about this. I mean, in terms of watching movies, I'm pretty cold-blooded. I mean, it takes a lot to even,
That makes two of us.
For me to even feel the sensation of moisture building in my eyes.
That makes two of us.
I mean, I am cold-blooded when it comes to watching movies, and so it's like, yeah, I didn't cry, man, but I started to feel a little bit, just a bit, and I was like,
I had to start fake crying because, like, to entertain my brother and his friends, because if I didn't, I was real crying, bro.
That was a powerful scene. I mean, as far as like a goodbye goes, oh my gosh,
oh my god, and the way they did the Gabby scene, I mean, that one got me emotional too.
Yeah, that was really good.
If I was a movie crier. I would have cried during the Gabby finds her kids scene, and I would have cried during the finale.
I think it was Nando V Movies or Captain Midnight or one of those YouTubers that kind of made the argument that I thought was interesting. I'm kind of curious what your take is in terms of Gabby. Would it not have been more interesting to have Gabby have the same realization as Woody, and they both kind of have it together, and so instead of just, going with a kid, she also realizes that there is life beyond just the kids,
Well,
and
I
that
feel like
and
see,
she goes with Woody and Bo Peep and stays there with them.
see. Okay, so I like to entertain that idea in my own mind because it is very interesting and that would be more in line. But the fact that she does complete her goal ties up her character, and I think that her character was meant to be tied up. From a
Yeah,
movie perspective, we're not supposed to see Gabby again. You know what I
right.
mean? She fulfilled her purpose in the movie. So as a story goes, it would have been interesting, but cinematic principle being at the forefront, I think it was really nice to see her story tied up.
Yeah, because I feel like that scene was her, like, yeah, like her fulfilling that and finding a kid that does love appreciate her now is was more fulfilling than just, oh, I'm going to stick with you guys. You're right, and then she's just kind of a background character for the next movie.
Right.
Um, and speaking of background characters, if there is one nitpick, it is, yeah, like what you said before I even saw Toy Story 4, that Buzz and Jesse definitely needed to be in it more. You know,
You know
I
what? Buzz
it's
had a good
hard
amount of
though
screen
because like
time.
the screen time was distributed so well, and it's just so hard because I personally don't know where they would have fit in.
See, so there's a lot of great Buzz in the movie, and I love when Buzz meets up with Woody and Bo Peep. I absolutely adore that. But this felt like an infinite. Gosh, we keep tying freaking Marvel parallels, but they're so easy to make because those movies are very ambiguous with their theming. But
Yeah.
but it's very Infinity War where there's a lot of Iron Man, there's a lot of Woody, and the Captain America. The Buzz sequences kind of spill out, and that's unfortunate. There should always be Woody and Buzz scenes in Toy Story. That's what makes Toy Story Toy Story. I mean, that's the entire first movie. The second movie, which is kind of what I'm thinking about the two plots. That's where the two plot ideas coming from, Ross. For my idea of a further franchise is because of Toy Story 2. But anyway, in that movie, once Buzz and Woody meet up, it's all about Buzz and Woody. And then Toy Story 3, you have that divide where they're not always together all the time. You have the Buzz and Jesse, storylines. And I feel like that was almost... It, because of the fact that we didn't get that in Toy Story 3, it felt like something was missing in Toy Story 4, that there weren't the super strong Buzz and Woody scenes. But
Yeah, because I
otherwise, I
mean,
mean,
it's like they're the duo, they're the Trinity. It's like,
but the Forky babysitting, like watch scene in the RV with Buzz, I mean, that's great. That makes sense. I mean, these are old friends. These are old friends.
I will say, for Buzz's screen time, I was a little bit bothered by how he just doesn't help because he gets bent on pressing his buttons now and trying to listen for his inner voice because he totally misinterpreted what Woody said, and it was like, and then he was making stupid decisions based on that, and it was funny, but I also thought at this point Buzz would be a little better than that.
Yeah,
And maybe,
yeah. I mean, yeah, because he should be more self-aware than that. You know what I
you
mean?
know, like I felt like I always, at this point, especially after Toy Story 3, I kind of always figured he was now kind of on the same page as Woody, right, in terms of a veteran toy.
But at the
Yeah,
same time, I mean, maybe Woody, because Woody is like 60 years old, 70 years
sure.
old. So maybe it takes that long. Maybe, but
Yeah.
but we don't know. Maybe Bo Peep is also like a 30-year-old porcelain lamp. They don't
But I
make
mean,
kids
like,
that
take,
long.
like, for instance, like Jesse. Like, you got those vibes from Jesse. Like, Jesse was on top of things. Well, why not Buzz?
Well, she's
Yeah,
also an old toy, dude.
that's true.
So
That's
think
true.
so like I don't know. I get what you mean. I get what you
Yeah,
mean.
it's a
And
nitpick. I mean, it really is.
Buzz has been a toy for 10 years, but at the same time, I feel like that's part of his character. Like he's always learning something new about being a toy. Things
Yeah.
that because okay, so let's assume that Woody had a kid before Andy, right? Maybe he was more optimistic like Buzz when he had his kid, right?
Sure.
Buzz is introduced to Andy. What is it, like 10th birthday party or something like that?
But it's just there were also moments of maturity for Buzz in Toy Story 2 and 3 that kind of
Well, him
directed
leading,
him.
him leading everybody in Toy Story 2, becoming a
Right.
leader. Toy Story 3, not so much, dude. After
Yeah.
rewatching that, not so much.
That's
but
true.
definitely Toy Story 2, yeah.
Again, just nitpicks more than anything. He's still our
Very
Buzz.
much. Yeah, no, he's still our Buzz. He's great. He's had lots of fun. This movie's great. I mean, dude,
I thought it was really cool how the background characters, they like Slinky and Rex and
Slinky had a good amount of time, man. I liked Slinky's including,
and he had a good sequence in the beginning. Can we talk about the beginning really quick?
That might be my favorite part of the movie, dude. That looks like real life. I look at that backyard.
That opening sequence, man,
dude,
that got me.
That's not animation, dude. We're at a point in animation where Rain looks more realistic than real life Rain. And I'm very upset about that. I was sitting in the movie.
I was watching that, and I'm like, how?
I almost threw up, dude. If I'm being completely honest, I mean, I'm just watching it and I'm like, holy crap, what?
I was like, how is this animated?
Dude, the computers are going to take over. I mean, this confirms. Oh my gosh.
Like, I can't imagine how hard and how long it must have taken to pull that off. I mean, jeez. Oh my god. I mean, the rest of the animation throughout the movie is believable. But that rain sequence was something else. I mean, that was insane to look at. I mean, imagine showing that to those guys in 1995.
They would have laughed at you and said, "That's a picture of real rain, dude. That's like a picture of actual rain."
I mean, oh my gosh, how far animation has come in the last 20 or so. It's insane.
It's ridiculous. It makes me angry how good it is. I'm genuinely upset.
Like, animation does look better than real life now. I mean, it's insane. But anyway, Tate, yeah, I think that's a pretty good place to close out for Toy Story 4, man. I'm looking forward to seeing.
I do want to say, Ross, before we finish it up, I want to say that the side characters, the ones that we love from the first 2 movies, and you can say the first 3 movies, but the ones that we know from Andy's bedroom, they're still here. They're still involved in the plot. Rex is still an anxious dinosaur. Lots of fun. The unicorn's still a dickhead, like he was in the last movie. Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, they're still there. They still bicker. They have one tiny bicker in this movie.
And how cool is it that since the actor unfortunately passed away, who played Mr. Potato Head, they went through the archives and dug up lines for him, and very much like what we can assume will be like for Carrie Fisher in Rise of Skywalker, they kind of wrote the scenes around him a little bit.
God, rest in peace, first off, but I mean, that's just incredible that this is movies. This is the state of filmmaking, and oh my gosh, I mean, this is honestly, this is a love letter to filmmaking. This movie, the animation's incredible, the sound design's incredible, the script's incredible, dude. I like this movie a lot. I like this movie more than I should. I mean, I don't know why I like this movie so much. I do know why, because I mean, all the things we've.
I'm excited to finally go back and rewatch the original 3.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, this movie's kind of magic. Like, if you look at this movie, you're like, okay, this feels like Toy Story 2 again. It really did. Like, at least in the emotions that you feel through the movie.
And something I thought was interesting too is Toy Story 2 kind of dealt a little bit more on the scare factors with the toys, right?
Right.
And that was a big selling point with the trailers for Toy Story 4. And it's still brought up a lot by even people I know. It's like, oh, is Toy Story 4 scary a little bit because of those really creepy dolls? And it's like, no, they are actually, kind of a joke.
Right, yeah. So the fear comes more so in the mortality of a toy. You know what I mean? The fear is more so like, if I can't fulfill my purpose, then I'm worthless. That's where the fear lies.
And speaking of physical mortality, I mean, it's like, obviously that's not a thing with them, but I just love how, that one moment where Bo Peep's arm falls off and Woody's like, oh my gosh, she's just like, nope, just piece of tape, we're fine.
Hey man, his arm got ripped off too and he was fine. I don't understand why it's like a big deal. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he just got it sewed back on. I mean, Andy gave
no problem, barely an inconvenience. But
wouldn't that be awesome if they kept the big bicep from Toy Story 2? I mean, to make his character look wonky, but wouldn't that just be awesome?
Oh no.
Oh man. But anyway, I think we've done our time on.
Yeah, for Toy Story 4, man. Definitely go check it out. Don't miss it in theaters.
Yeah, no, this is I mean, because of the animation quality, I mean, each grain of sand, each raindrop is animated. It's incredible. Right? But yeah, dude, check out this movie. Anyway,
But,
moving forward.
Yeah, so
Oh shit.
in terms of other talking points, like things that we want to, we got, as I stall there to bring up my notes, you've got the new Endgame set. Tate, what did you think of the new Lego Avengers Endgame set?
I don't care. I'm sorry, dude. I have not bought a Lego set to build a Lego set in a long,
This was
long
crazy
time.
for me because
Yeah, it's all Ross.
I really just thought that that was it, you know, for the Endgame sets after the original line. You know, they weren't going to do anything after this, but I guess it was kind of foolish for me to think that because it's like we still don't even know what's coming out in 2020 for Marvel slates, aside from Black Widow. And it would actually be foolish for Lego to not make more Endgame sets, considering this is the last big movie with Iron Man, Captain America. I mean, you know, why wouldn't you? And so this set, listen, man, it's exciting because the rumor is that there are 4 more sets on top of this and basically an entirely new wave of. And I did a whole video on this and got it up for the channel and, you know, kind of already covered my thoughts. But one thing I really didn't touch on a whole lot in that video was, you know, if there was one thing that we would all be looking forward to in new Endgame sets, it would be to get their original costumes. Because Lego received the concept art for the Quantum Realm suits, and they're like, oh, you know, like all toy companies, they're going to be wearing the same suits for a certain portion of the movie. We'll just copy and paste that. Save money, sell the same, barely an inconvenience. And it's like, this was a shame because while it is cool that they gave the Quantum Realm suit to the Hulk for that big fig, it's a shame because you still got Black Widow in her Quantum Realm suit. And I really feel like enough is enough. And if we are getting 4 more sets based on the movies, and those sets just have all the Avengers still in their Quantum Realm suits, I'm going to just about give up on Lego as far as MCU sets go. Because at that point, they're allowing the negatives and the cons to outweigh the pros once again. And while they do really, you know, cool stuff, like they'll give us the Captain America helmet, you know, they'll give us some really solid Spider-Man Far From Home figures. If this is how the Avengers are still getting treated, it's like I would hope that this is not still due to the concept art problem and that it clearly can't be because, I mean, now we've got the Stark Gauntlet, you know, the Nano Gauntlet, we've got the rescue suit. So this, I don't think, can be attributed to the concept art problem. It's just a shame. It's just a shame because I think people would really appreciate one last Captain America, you know, Ronin, Black Widow in her suit. You know, rescue is cool, but there's so much more that they could do. And while I appreciate, you know, again, things like getting the new Ant-Man helmet, just they got to stop with these Quantum Realm suits. And speaking of the rescue armor, normally I'm really opposed to them constantly rehashing that Invincible Iron Man helmet that they introduced in 2017 and have kind of abused ever since.
It works.
And, you know, it works in some cases. And, you know, in some cases it's kind of okay, like Vulture. But then in others, like the Iron Man Mark I, it's just laughable. In this case, it also works for rescue, and I think it's fine. I understand why they're reusing it here. I think it's better they use this than the regular Iron Man helmet in purple or something, because that's just not how her helmet looks in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And while I love the printed designs, I've got a couple problems with rescue here.
Purple. She's freaking purple.
She's purple.
She was
purple.
not purple in the movie. She was dark.
And
blue.
again, maybe this can be attributed to the reference that they had available, but listen, man, I just saw him again, and I have plenty of reference for the rescue suit. And I mean, you look at the most clear evidence that her suit is not purple. It's a little hard to see in the final battle, but the most clear evidence is the first scene with Morgan Stark when she's wearing the helmet. That is in broad daylight, that scene. And I was looking for I was really paying attention to see if there's any like secondary purple accents, you know, just like running throughout the helmet. No, it is a straight metallic blue, metallic dark blue. That is the color of rescue. And that's the color that I'm already started to make my figure, because I did already paint the helmet for rescue on my own custom. And I like it. because it's cool looking and I appreciate the color contrast that it creates, but it's not accurate. This needed to be dark blue with a secondary of regular blue.
And see, the insulting thing about it is that they use the exact dark blue not only on her detailing, but look at the freaking helicopter. Look at that helicopter. That's the color blue, man. I mean, that color blue would work.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. That dark blue, secondary being normal blue, and we would be in really good shape. But I guess it's better than no rescue, right?
The figure design is pretty cool, man.
All the printing is great. It's all great. It looks awesome. But honestly, even aside from the color problems, my biggest problem doesn't really seem to be affecting. A lot of people don't really have too big of a problem with this. I'm not sure if you saw this, Tate. It's not really, you can't really see it in this picture too well. But underneath that helmet is a very young-looking Pepper face.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, we have a Pepper face from what?
Yeah, and it's just not Gwyneth Paltrow. We've had a really good Pepper Potts face in the Iron Man 3 sets back in 2013. I still have it, thankfully, and I'm probably going to bricklink a second one to paint the neck onto, because this new face they're using in this set is just not Gwyneth Paltrow. I mean, this is Lego just kind of saying, okay, you know what? We don't have the Pepper Potts head or the Rhodey head still on production lines anymore. So we're just going to grab some cyborg heads, and then whatever this head is a rehash of, I honestly don't even know, but I know it's not new.
From a Harry Potter set, I think.
It's from a Harry Potter. There you go. And and then the hairpiece, man. It's too big, it's too thick, and the bangs are just too straight and also too thick. Listen, Pepper does have bangs, but they don't look like that.
So this would have worked like if we're talking about like Iron Man 1.
Iron Man
1 Pepper.
Iron Man 1 or 2 Pepper? Not even Iron Man 1, honestly. Iron Man 2, maybe. Yeah. Iron Man, but any point after that, man, this is just the wrong hairpiece. There's a wide variety of other hairpieces they could have pulled from. I mean, this was just not it. Yeah. And I know not everybody agrees, but that Pepper head, if you ask me, is ridiculous. It just, I don't look at that and see Gwyneth Paltrow at all. But as far as the Hulk Big Fig goes, he looks great in the Quantum Realm suit. That looks awesome.
Okay. He looks all right.
That looks great. The suit itself looks awesome. The new Nano Gauntlet looks awesome. It is a little bit of a shame they're still not giving everybody all the Infinity Stones, and they're maintaining some kind of stupid like Lego canon here between the sets, because in the Avengers compound, Thanos has the Time and the Power Stone, and then in this set, the Hulk is missing those two, and so it's like Lego's got their own story going on they made up here, which I think is funny. But to me, this is the worst Hulk face we've ever had. And Tate, I'm not sure if you've seen the close-up of this Hulk Big Fig, but the mouth is just this weird squiggle, and it's very odd. Because I know Lego, it's their attempt to add variety, right? They've had the same aggressive rage face for Hulk for most of the versions of the character, most of the big figs, but it's like this little squiggle that they threw on here is not it, man. It's just, I wish they would have kept the same print that they already just did for Avengers Compound. Because if you ask me, I know, and I don't, not everybody agrees with me here, but I said it in the video. I think that face in the Avengers Compound for the Hulk, for Professor Hulk, is perfect. I really do. I really appreciate that face design on that Hulk for this version of Hulk, for Professor Hulk. The blend between Mark Ruffalo and the Hulk. I think that was perfect, and they really should have just rehashed it here.
The little grin, right?
Sorry?
The little grin.
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
You put that side by side with Professor Hulk, and it looks good. I'm certainly not going to change it for my custom, but yeah, man. As far as the vehicles go, though, I mean, it's great to have a couple Chitauri back. I think the helicopter is certainly better than the one that we had in. That's a plus. I mean, but in terms of this, Lego kind of had to avoid spoilers, and because, the vehicle arsenal of Avengers Compound was never really seen, Lego just kind of had to make some stuff up. So they were like, okay, base color of dark blue, secondary color of trans orange. And they kind of maintain that here. And in terms of functionality, this thing has all kinds of playability features, the blades, the little discs that you can fire on the wings, the spacious cockpit. You've got a couple of studs, a little Technic pin on the top that you press down to knock the Hulk into battle, which is all cool, man. It's a cool little dropship. I'm not going to criticize it. It's not necessary. I think it's fine. In terms of vehicles that Lego could have done, there really aren't a lot for Endgame. So what I do think Lego could have done, though, and I agree, With I saw this on Instagram. Somebody I forgot who designs the custom sets, but they had a really cool Leviathan, and I think if Lego did that instead and just cut the miniature Leviathan here, cut the helicopter, and just did a full scale Leviathan.
When a full scale Leviathan,
not a full scale, but you know what I mean, like a bigger, like a big Leviathan.
Are you talking like a $120 set, like the old Republic frigate and that kind of stuff?
No, I mean something in between. Kind of like a midi scale Leviathan would have been fine here, but instead we get this. And I mean, granted, the miniature Leviathan does look cool. And if I had to say, I mean, that's probably the best Chitauri, vehicle Legos produce, but it's not saying much. It doesn't exist.
The Avengers 2012 ones were pretty cool.
I actually do. I do prefer this one though.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I there's some good stuff here, but then the other half is just like why, And so I'm grateful that Lego's continuing the Endgame line. I really am. I appreciate them making the Stark Gauntlet and really kind of trying to make a full package out of the sets now, because obviously they couldn't with the first lineup because they had to avoid spoilers at all costs, and so we wound up with a line of sets that was pretty hilarious, and a lot of what we saw in those sets didn't even happen in the movie at all, which is not new, but I mean Endgame was particularly bad for the right reasons, and so I hope that the next 4 sets that are rumored are not comic sets and are actually Endgame sets, because I know superheroes doesn't sell the best amongst Lego's themes, but I have to imagine the movie sets sell better than the comic sets. Maybe I'm wrong. I would hope not. But yeah, man. So anyway,
cool.
I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Tate.
Yeah, dude. I'm sorry. I just don't care, man. I mean, it's just like Lego sets that they produce is just not for me. But anyway, moving forward, the Avengers Endgame re-release.
Yeah. So I just got to see it last night for the last time, which is pretty cool because it's kind of poetic. It's kind of rhymes. I saw the original Avengers in 2012 9 times as a kid, and so
jeez.
I got to see it. I got to see Endgame now 9 times, and I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, man, I still have the exact same thoughts on Endgame. Not going to change. But in terms of the new stuff, look, man, I mostly wanted that poster, and I got them. I got a couple of those posters. And I think they're really, it's a really thick paper, by the way, that they used, and so of course, the big thing here was that Endgame came up short of passing Avatar to become the highest grossing movie of all time by what was it, Tate? 35 million?
Like nothing, dude.
Yeah, don't quote us on the numbers. But it's something like that. And now they came out and they're like, okay, we're going to do a re-release. And it was kind of weird because they're saying re-release. I mean, it never actually fell out of theaters quite yet. It's still in theaters. Before this, very few theaters, I imagine, pulled Endgame, prematurely. But they still marketed it as a re-release, kind of, somewhat. There wasn't like a TV spot marketing campaign. They didn't do a full mini campaign for this. It was just kind of mostly like social stuff and word of mouth. And I mean, I was thinking about this, and I was like, this just doesn't sound like enough incentive to get people to go back. Because we heard, okay, there's going to be an intro from the directors, and it's like, that's great. But I mean, they've appeared in God knows how many long form shows in media. I mean, you want your fill of the directors talking about the movie. You don't really need a little intro at the beginning to satisfy you. And then, it basically Endgame starts. It's this time it's just Anthony Russo, and he's like, hey, thanks for supporting the movie, this and that. Stick around for the end. There's going to be some stuff, some very special stuff that we have to show you. And it's like, great. So we watched the whole 3-hour movie, run over by a truck emotionally again, one last time. And it was amazing, of course, to watch one more time. But then you stick around all the way to the very end of the credits, very end, after the credits roll, and then it cuts back to Anthony Russo again, and he's like, hey, thanks for sticking around. Obviously that was a lot of movie, and we had to cut things. We couldn't insert everything, and just saying that, and here's a scene that we really loved, but we had to cut. And they play the scene, and I already kind of knew what it was going to be. I knew that it had, because I've been keeping up with Endgame after the movie came out in terms of like the scene. I was keeping up. I was, listening and reading whatever the directors and writers had to say. And they said there was a scene of like the Hulk and a bit of a montage scene that kind of introduces you to Professor Hulk, rescuing people, kind of catching you up with what he's been doing in the 5 years since. And that's the scene that introduces you to Professor Hulk. That's your first exposure to Professor Hulk. And I mean, if this was the scene that they were talking about, I'm glad they cut it, because it's just more humor. It's just a couple firefighters, kind of goofy firefighters. You got a building on fire. They're in a city, and it's kind of weird because, you're supposed to, it pulls you out of the idea that we are now living in post-Infinity War. Because the city seems populated, and I don't know what city he was in particularly, Hulk, but I mean everything seemed fine, right? Like there wasn't a shortage of people, is what I'm saying. And granted, life would have moved on in the 5 years since, but it just wasn't the right. You don't want the audience to feel like have any sense of things have returned to normal, right? And this scene definitely would have broken that. And it was all unfinished. So the Hulk, there's no finished CGI on the Hulk. He's very rough looking, there's no animation on his face, no lighting, nothing like that. Just the character model moving around. And the buildings were also unfinished that were on fire too. The green screen, the blue screen was all unfinished. And it was just kind of stupid because it was basically the intro scene. And it was like, then, because of course, after Tony is reluctant and disagrees and doesn't agree to help with time travel, Cap says, we're going to need a big brain. And that would be obviously where he calls Bruce. And so the scene ends after he saves some people with like a satellite dish or something. I don't know. They weren't CGI'd in. He answers the phone. He's like, Steve? He's like, Steve who? Like, it's been 5 years. He wasn't expecting a call. And then that would have been his intro scene. And it was like, Tate, I never thought I'd say this, but it's like, and of course I'm in the minority opinion here. The diner scene is one of my least favorite scenes in the movie. I mean, despite being able to...
No, I'm going to Ross rant. I want to Ross
Let's talk about this. Listen, man, it was great to, excuse the pun, it was great to marvel at the Hulk and Professor Hulk and the CGI. I mean, just astonishing to look at. But that scene was ridiculous.
All right, time for me to Ross rant.
We talked about this in our original Endgame video, and just to reiterate, Endgame did have a little too much humor. And it's great that the Marvel movies always have to be light, and I agree with that. But to me, Infinity War was the perfect balance between humor and seriousness. Endgame didn't strike that chord. And I thought that was a shame because the diner scene, when you're supposed to be reinserted into a world now 5 years post time jump, we shouldn't have been given the opportunity to reconvene and have a nice, fun diner scene. It just didn't fit. This is Avengers Endgame. This is the final finale movie with Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, the original Avengers. A turning point for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Nothing will be the same. And we're messing around in a little diner.
Okay,
we're messing around with kids.
Ross, I'm cutting you off.
Looking into the camera lens. I mean, and jokes that I didn't really even find to be that funny. I know I'm in the minority opinion here, and I know you are too, Tate, but it was like, I was actually glad that the diner scene was in the movie over the deleted scene, because the deleted scene actually really wasn't as good, believe it or not.
All right, Tate rant time.
Yeah.
Here we go. The diner scene is a complete tonal shift. It should not have been in the movie. Show Professor Hulk at a almost like UN like installation with the tents and the tarps and whatnot. Show him administering vaccines or administering this, or like helping, giving people rationed out food or something like that. We didn't see anything like that in the freaking city, and it bugs me so much. This is the apocalypse. This was the apocalypse, and we saw no kind of aid. The Avengers are supposed to protect the population. They failed, so they should have been doing their best to protect the rest of the population.
And maybe they did, but we never saw it.
Right, exactly. And we should have seen that. We should have seen the Avengers UN, the Avengers, intense, passing out food parcels.
I don't necessarily agree with this because of how short on time they were already.
But here's the thing: we wasted time with the diner. We could have had that be the introduction.
I'm the number one proponent of the wasted time in Endgame and the scenes that didn't need to be there. But I mean, say we remove all the excess scenes. We remove the diner scene. We remove the scene of Thor and Quill at the end. I mean, you still don't have a lot of time to work with there, and so I think.
But here's the thing, Ross.
The Avengers kind of working like that. I think what would have been just best is if we got to go around the universe and just see the emptiness and see the destruction, as opposed to the Avengers helping.
So I would like to the introduction to Professor Hulk. I would like that to have been an installation where he is passing out food parcels to children and single mothers and all of these people.
Well, they were going to do that originally with Black Widow in DC. She was going to open up her own orphanage.
Right. That's how that's what should have happened. Give that a 2-minute scene.
And she passed it off to somebody else.
Right. But give us a 2-minute scene or less. Right. I just want to see a small scene. I don't want to see the diner scene. I want to see them passing out food. I want to see them taking in kids. I want to see something like that. But we didn't.
Take something else. This is totally random. But I guess since we're talking about Endgame again, is it not weird that Cassie didn't go with Scott?
Do you mean to the Avengers HQ?
Yeah, because think about that. They're in San Francisco. The Avengers were up in New York. So, after reconvening with Cassie, he had to say, I know how to time travel. I need to get in the van and drive across the fucking country.
Right. That is interesting.
That was my F-bomb for the episode. It was sorry guys, but it was how crazy is that? This is a total side tangent, but just something to think about that.
She hasn't seen her dad in 5 years, and she's just going to let him go
and he
off
just
on
walked
his
up
own.
on her, and now she's 17, 18, and she's almost an adult. It's
where's the stepmom and everything? Has Cassie been fending for herself?
Oh, well, the idea is they got erased, yeah.
Right, so she's been fending for herself, right? Her dad just came back. She is probably emotionally distressed. I mean, I'd guess that much. So, yeah, why doesn't she go with him? That's a good question. And then she could just be a side character at the Avengers compound, just sitting there watching. She could just be sitting there watching. And then we don't see her anything. She just gets to stay.
Not even that. She doesn't even have to be involved. It could have just been a quick shot of Rhodey and Black Widow kind of taking her down a hallway to a room. And then that's it. She's in Avengers compound.
Oh, but then think about it. If she's there though, and then the Thanos attack happens,
right? You would have had to show her getting to safety. But she could have very well been a background character, not really been involved too much.
Right.
She's kind of been there.
Okay, and can we talk about the crime that it is that we did not get to see the Morgan Stark deleted scene?
Yeah, and so that kind of goes back to what I was saying about there being a lack of incentive for people to go back, because it's this Hulk scene was not enough, and also there was a huge Stan Lee montage, a huge Stan Lee featurette that was just really special. I mean, it is a really great tribute featurette to Stan Lee. I mean, probably the best one I've ever seen. Really great stuff. All kinds of behind-the-scenes shots that we've never seen of them filming all the MCU movies that he was in. I mean, really, really great stuff. I mean, the smile on Stan Lee is just one that will transcend. I mean, and it's just, it was really good. It was really cool. But it's that wasn't enough to get people to come back. And the Hulk scene, like I said, certainly wasn't either. And so if they did a small marketing campaign and showed a shot of Tony in that soul world, right, that would have gotten people to come back.
Absolutely.
That would have done it, because that would have raised a lot of questions and got people talking. Right. They completely failed to get people talking, to come back and see Endgame again. And I don't know why. I don't know what this was. I don't know what happened here with this. I don't know how last minute all this was. I mean, they printed a ton of posters and got them distributed. I don't know what happened with this re-release, but it wasn't enough. Yeah. And then finally you get to the tail end of the credits, and it's but wait, before you go, one more thing. And then cut to a scene from Far From Home, Nick Fury and Maria Hill are in New Mexico, or not New Mexico, it's just straight up Mexico. They're in Mexico, and you might remember in the Far From Home trailer, there's like a tan-looking city that's totally decimated.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they are, and it's basically just Nick Fury, Maria Hill, meeting Mysterio for the first time, and seeing the new Elemental Sandman guy. And so that was that. That's all it was. It was cool. But if anything,
but we're going to see that in 3 days or 4 days or whenever it comes out.
Yeah, and so I don't really think it's much of a spoiler. It really isn't. It's all in the trailers.
Yeah.
The context, I guess, if you want. But who cares? It's really not a big deal.
Right.
What I thought was weird about that scene from Far From Home, look, man, it's cool to see Mysterio. You know, he looked great. And I'm really excited for that. That's going to be our next podcast, man, after Far From Home. That's going to be awesome.
Oh, man. Yeah, I just realized. Yeah, because Far From Home, for some reason, comes out on a Tuesday. Whoever came up with that is a Sony exec. But, Ross and I have both been spoiled for Far From Home. I do want to add, I was spoiled last month because freaking, what was it? It was like Taiwan or something had already had the movie circulating because Sony somehow cannot distribute a movie like Marvel can. Like
for me, it was spam accounts. You know, spam accounts. They're running rampant right now, going around pasting spoilers on whatever pages they can find.
By the way, like I got a DM a month ago. That's how I got spoiled. I mean, my account has 300.
It's a shame, man. I genuinely feel bad because I wonder what it's like for them to be in that position, to be in that state of mind, to where they actually feel the need to ruin an experience for people they don't even know, good people who are just looking forward to something like that's. You got to be in a pretty bad place.
And let me tell you, looking forward to something is an understatement. I mean, Spider-Man Far From Home, this movie looks great. And I really hope it is great. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero in the Marvel lineup. And I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, and so that scene, one thing I thought was strange, Tait, after the Avengers, after the Winter Soldier, her cameo in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, her brief role in Age of Ultron, all the way up to the post-credit scene in Infinity War and her inclusion at the end of Endgame, Agent Hill was always there with Nick Fury, and she has seen it all. And it stands to reason that maybe she came through those portals and they stood off to the side in the battle and saw what was going on. Who the hell knows?
Right.
But she's walking around with Nick Fury trying to tell him that this sand creature that the locals have been seeing is probably just make-believe and fiction.
That doesn't make any sense.
I was like, and Nick Fury is just kind of ignoring her, like, no, they saw a face. And I'm just like, why wouldn't she also be on board? Like, what?
She just saw a single man snap half of existence out of.
I was like, wait, what? It's just kind of weird and gets me a little worried. But that little lack of consistency there, Tait, has me worried. Because we've had this discussion. If Far From Home just moves on from the snap 5 years later, 5 years post end of the world, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah.
I'm going to be upset if they don't nail down on what this multiverse is and they make it clear. I'm going to be upset.
Well, we've been dreading this, dude. We've really been dreading this.
And I really feel like we might be right going in. It really seems like they're going to gloss over a lot.
Right. Reviewers like the movie, but they're judging it on the movie, not on the context.
Right. Reviewers like the movie, but reviewers also don't know details to the consistency to the canon. It doesn't matter as much to them. Is it an enjoyable movie? And it's usually judged on the merits of that. But it's like when these movies have been built upon
the past 11
this
years.
Being a cinematic universe and consistency being the thing that ties it all together, to start to drop that consistency is really a shame. And I hope that won't be the case. I hope we're wrong. I hope, John Watts really was able to pull it together. But from what I understand, I don't think he saw Endgame on this movie. And so I think he knew what was going to happen. Like, he was told about the death of Iron Man and the snaps. But I don't think he actually saw any. I hope he had enough to work with. And I hope that enough screen time is allotted to what is always going to be the most impacting, moment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. To just gloss over that in Spider-Man Far From Home and not show the effect that it's had on the characters in Far From Home, but the rest of the world a little bit. Because, hey, we kind of talked about this a little bit in our Endgame talk in April, but one thing that I think that kind of rushed over a lot of people's heads, and granted, mankind, we ourselves were doomed to do the same things twice, but you have half of mankind and half of the population in the known universe that has now gone on 5 years without their loved ones. 5 years of life that they will never get back. They will die before their loved ones. Things like that matter to people. 5 years where they have been left alone in emotional distress, probably many of whom on the brink of suicide. The world was thrust into a really dark place for 5 years in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's no beating around the bush. And everyone was affected. And to then just kind of move on, like business as usual, especially how quick Spider-Man Far From Home picks up after the fact, is crazy to me. And I really hope that won't be the case. And I hope we're wrong, man. But another thing also is that all those billions and trillions of people that have gone on in the last 5 years without their family now have them back. And now know the value of having them around. And you now have half the known universe who will no longer take their loved ones for granted, who really, have a renewed sense of what matters, of what really matters in life. And those are all hugely dramatic and emotionally gripping story beats that should matter. But I know, and I don't know, but I really feel like, and you see we're kind of on the same page here, it really seems like all of this is going to be glossed over in Spider-Man Far From Home. And come this time, next movie, Black Widow, because Black Widow will be a prequel. So come this time, after Black Widow, whatever movie comes after Far From Home and Black Widow, it kind of seems like it might fall on their shoulders to address these things. And then I feel like whatever that movie is, they won't do it. Maybe they won't address it in the Bucky or Falcon show. These are things that I just think about, what they've really done here with Spider-Man Far From, what's really on the burden that is on Spider-Man Far From Home's shoulders that I really feel like they're going to half ignore. I hope that won't be the case. I hope it'll be a great Spider-Man movie while successfully addressing everything I just said, but it seems like it might have been a little too tall of an order. So there you go, Tate.
Yeah, we are in an unfortunate situation with the whole multiverse thing that, Endgame opened up, but hey, man.
And see, that's a big deal, right? This movie picks up right after Endgame, and it's like, if you think about it, it never really should have fallen on a Spider-Man movie's shoulders to address the greatest changes to ever come and fall upon the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh yeah, no.
Not only do they have to address
Spider-Man is not.
Not only do they have to address everything that I just talked about, but they also then have to address the time travel and the multiverse, and that you can't just gloss over any of this. And so I think it's going to fall on the shoulders of whatever after Black Widow prequel to do it instead, because there's no room for any of this in a Spider-Man movie, and it's a shame.
Nope. And if they're shoehorning it in, it might feel weird. And dude, they should have introduced Fantastic Four to deal with multiverse, because that's what the Fantastic Four is about, right? In the comics, Fantastic Four deals with cosmic threats. That's kind of their whole thing. That's what separates them from the Avengers. Kind of unfortunate that they're not in the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, if anything, movies that could really address all of this, Captain Marvel sequel, Doctor Strange sequel, Black Panther sequel, those movies that deal with the characters that kind of cover more ground could definitely address these things. But it's going to be a tough spot, man. And I'm not expecting it to really be handled the right way. So anyway,
Moving forward, that was a lot of Avengers talk. But Ross, you've taken me through Halo these past few
I've
weeks.
taken you most of the way through Halo.
Most of the way through Halo. We're on the last
Just
mission
at
of
the
Halo
end,
3.
so yeah. To preface, Halo has been a huge part of my life. My favorite game series. Lots of nostalgia. I mean, as I was growing up with Star Wars: The Clone Wars, I was growing up with Halo. And Halo 3, Reach, and ODST, and even Halo 4 created some very fond memories for me, and memories that I always hold on to as being some of the most fun experiences I've ever had gaming. And Halo 5 and Halo is kind of not in a great place right now with Halo, but Tate and I thought we were going to wait for Halo, which is now coming on the PC, the Master Chief Collection, before I ran him through the games in the series, because Tate has never played Halo games or the campaigns.
Besides Reach.
Besides Reach. And so I figured, hey, well, he figured, hey, his brother has an Xbox. I had a free code for Xbox Live for a month. So I'm like, let's do it, man. Run through the games. We've both got the Master Chief Collection. And so far we've made it all the way through Halo 1, Halo 2, and we are on the final mission of Halo 3. And I love Halo 3 to death. And I love its story. I love its lore. I love its characters. The entire universe is so special to me. But Tate, what have you thought?
Okay.
Thus far.
All right. I'm a story man. I love story in my games. And, man, Halo does story really well. They don't overwhelm the player. There's a lot of vernacular used that I don't understand quite yet, but I think by the time I get to the end of the franchise, I will. It's a situation where it respects the player and it uses the nouns that are used in the universe, and you start, it's almost like a foreign country, right? Like I learned Spanish by going into Mexico and just kind of not knowing any Spanish and just listening to people and listening to their vernacular. But you start catching on. You start catching on to what things are called. And it's really nice. It really feels like you're learning a foreign language. It really feels like you're watching a story kind of be uncovered. I've been picking Ross's brain every time we play, asking him questions. And there's a huge universe here. It's very Star Wars.
It's been really refreshing for me, too, because it's been a long time. I personally run through all the games myself. And there's so much that I'm picking up on now. Because when I first played the Halo games myself, I was younger. And I was playing co-op with other people. And so I also wasn't paying attention to the story very much back then. And I mean, of course, I know it, but this has been a great opportunity to really fill in gaps as I kind of explain some of it to Tate. And I think it's been awesome.
Right. And the thing that's the most fun about the game is just to be there playing it with Ross and to have the two of us just yell at each other, like halfway through, like in a friendly way. I mean, when Ross and I play games, we make a lot of raunchy jokes. And this is no exception, dude. I mean,
Rated X.
Right, I become super delirious because we've been playing late. We've been playing because our days have been so busy. But like, I've been playing like 12 o'clock my time, which is like 2-3 Ross's time. So we've been extremely delirious playing this game. So like a couple nights ago, we were playing, and I just started rhyming words with arbiter with random consonants. Started calling him parbiter, barbiter, harbinger, and it was just like a good 30 minutes of just delirious Tate naming.
And oh my god, like we've been able to really kind of get through a lot of this in the 3 games pretty well. But man, the first roadblock that we kind of hit was finally the last mission of Halo 3 when you have to climb up.
Oh my gosh!
The cartographer building.
Yeah, because my controller
the
destroyed itself. My controller just said, "I don't want to work anymore." So it's
like that's too many. There's too much flood. I'm shutting off. That's it. We're done.
My gosh! So I'm playing the game. I have to hit the right trigger like 4 times before it shoots because it's super delayed for some reason.
I don't even know how you stayed alive.
So Ross, okay, so here's the thing. So like, okay, earlier on in the day, all of the enemies that we're fighting were completely textureless. Like all of the elites were black, and then their blue armor was showing, like the base color. All of the grunts completely black. All of the brutes completely black. I don't know what's going on with my Master Chief collection, man, because I have all these weird bugs.
Yeah.
But oh my god, man! Whenever we see, when we get El Shotgun. Oh my gosh, I go off. I started screaming the other day because we found the dual wield little pocket shotguns, and my mom came in my room and was like, "Please stop."
The Maulers.
Oh my gosh, it's been a lot of good fun. It's
But
been a lot.
seriously, I mean, Halo is really great. Halo is also accessible to Star Wars fans, and so I mean, if you're a fan of Star Wars, I think you'd really enjoy the Halo series.
Oh yeah.
If you guys have not played Halo, or if you're not as familiar, I think it's coming to Halo. Halo's coming onto the PC this year, so it's going to become more accessible than ever, and so it's exciting. And I'm looking forward to taking Tate through this final mission sometime tonight, maybe, and then taking you through Halo 4, where they really go pretty all out in the story.
I'm gonna go rated X mode right now. Why does Cortana have so much?
What?
I mean, why is Cortana so thick, man? I mean, what is the point? Like we're playing through Halo 2 and I was like, why is Cortana like? Why does she have big titties? Like that was like my starts, ear raping me halfway through the game. Oh my god!
Oh
it's
yeah,
so
because she
mean,
has
man.
because in Halo 3, she spends a lot of the game like trying to communicate with Chief because she's off somewhere else, and yeah,
I just did
it,
not get it, man. I was like, okay, why is this character so
yeah,
sexualized?
yeah. Cortana's great though. I mean, aside from those things,
Cortana ripped my head off, and I was Arbiter. Arbiter doesn't have a Cortana chip. I mean, come on. Every time
oh
she started
man.
screaming at me, I just shut down and I'd start shotgunning Ross in the back.
But yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, all the Warthog runs and
Oh my god,
getting the
Frank the
Scorpion
tank.
tanks and fighting all the hordes of Flood and getting in wraiths and and boarding scarabs with Tate and
It's so
watching
fun,
the
man.
cutscenes, seeing his reactions of some of the cutscenes for the first time. I mean, oh man, it's been fun.
It's
It's been
yeah,
too long.
it's lots of fun, man. I mean, play Halo if you can. It's
Yeah,
it's really enjoyable, and I'm really impressed. I mean, Halo 3 came out 2007, and I mean, dude, it looks like a game that came out in like
Halo
2012.
3 is shockingly good looking for how old it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm genuinely impressed, and the gameplay's fine too. I had to switch to the more modern shooter controls just because that's what I'm used to, and it's fine, dude. It plays really well.
Yeah. So finally, one kind of side tangent we're going to go on to wrap up the episode here is just kind of a question that just kind of I thought about randomly, and I thought about it before, but I've never really brought it up to Tate or really anyone or really looked into it myself. But it's a question of why is it okay for the Avengers to kill, but not Batman or Spider-Man? And whether that be through the lens of the characters or through the audience, because it goes both ways.
Right.
The
So
Avengers are okay with killing, and the audience is okay with the Avengers killing. But the same cannot be said for Batman or Spider-Man. And we kind of talked about this a little bit today before the show, but I mean, yeah, this is just something I never really talked about with anybody. So,
So I'm a very
what do you
passionate
think?
comic fan. I want to preface it. There's a lot of preface needed for this conversation. I'm a
Yeah,
very passionate comic book fan, and I rank comic books as such with the two big ones, DC and Marvel. I say Marvel's at the bottom of my list. Right, DC is better than Marvel in my opinion.
oh,
Spider
comics wise, yeah,
Spider-Man is better than DC and Marvel, and then Batman is better than Spider-Man, DC, and Marvel. I separate Batman from DC, and I separate Spider-Man from Marvel because of the fact that those characters are so much better than anything else the companies have to offer. Right?
yeah.
Batman is better than. I mean, Batman's the best in my opinion. All Batman
Oh
related
yeah.
comics are the best.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man's, kind of a distant second, but still don't count him out. Spider-Man is my second favorite superhero, and then it goes DC Marvel for me. And the reason why Spider-Man and Batman rank so high for me, and the reason why they're such good heroes, is because of the fact that they are internally conflicted. There are not adversaries that are powerful. There are not adversaries that overpower them. Both Batman and Spider-Man are ridiculously inhumanly powerful. They can't be bested in that sense. The psychology of the two characters is what makes them such beacons in comic books. And that's
But why
why
does that not go for the Avengers? Is the question.
well, here's the thing, Ross. So it's just because of the way that the comic book characters were written, right? You have
Sure.
the psychological turn with Batman in the '80s, where things start getting a lot more gritty and things start getting a lot more gnarly, and you see a similar thing with Spider-Man in the '90s, right? You have these emotional and mental games that are being played with the characters. And applying the no-kill rule to those characters furthers the internal conflict because it gives them more obstacles. Because it's not an easy route to take. Whereas with the Justice League, which do kill... Now I do want to say, more Marvel heroes kill than DC heroes. If you just look at the
Oh yeah, 100%. But I mean, like, the thing about killing,
anyway,
like, it's just always seen as this thing. You go down that road and there's no coming back. It changes you as a person, and you are a killer forever. At that point, it's like,
I want to add,
this
Ross,
is just
really
not
quick.
a thing with the Avengers.
So the thing is with the Justice League, which kills less than the Avengers, and the Avengers, Fantastic Four, X-Men, all of those kill. Those stories are not about internally conflicted characters. There are stories, but overall, the basis of the characters are about saving the world by any means, right? So, in turn, doing that, killing is a necessity, right? If you look at the analogies that comics made to real world, which they did, that's why they got so popular in the 60s through the 80s, with the Cold War, with Vietnam, with these things, death was a necessary thing. It was a necessary, horrible thing, right? Whereas with Batman and Spider-Man, they aren't shaped by current events. They aren't shaped by events that take place. They are shaped only by their internal conflicts that have been created through their comic book run. And that's why I really, really appreciate it. But Ross, you are asking a good question. Why haven't the Avengers or the Fantastic Four made that transition as well? Why haven't
it
they?
doesn't even
Why
bother
haven't
them.
they? Right, and the real world option, or the real world answer, is because of the fact that they are analogies of real wars and real situations that have taken place. But in universe, why does Captain America kill when he
And also in universe, when you bring Batman in with the Justice League and have him face off against those galactic threats in large scale situations, and the same with Spider-Man, he's now involved in that. So why not kill then? Because now it is necessary. Now he is with them, and
Right. So the interesting thing is that Batman. Here's the hard thing. During Omega Wars, Batman does kill. He just doesn't kill humans. He beats a lot of things to death, man. He kills parademons, but he does not kill humans. So it's a hard,
right, and that's where I think the no-kill kind of falls apart a little bit.
Right.
Because,
But then you have Spider-Man. But then you have Spider-Man during Secret Wars, right? Spider-Man comes really close to killing some aliens, man. It's just.
Oh no,
I
think he does kill those aliens.
Well, it's left up to the imagination.
Yeah, but I think he killed those aliens. I mean, instant kill. I mean, he's impaling.
Oh yeah, if we're talking about Endgame, no, he's definitely killing the Outriders. Yeah.
No, he killed those aliens.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's like, that's where the no-kill rule kind of falls apart a little bit, because if you're protecting life, those are living beings with souls and a consciousnly. Granted, they may not be as intelligent, but they feel pain. They know what it's like to live, and I don't know. I think there's a lot for Batman. I think Batman makes the most sense because that is the biggest part of who he is. It was that moment when his parents were murdered. That is the defining moment of his life. Yeah. And so the no-kill rule makes the most sense for Batman, absolutely. But Spider-Man, there's so much more to him. And granted, you can say the same as Batman in a variety of different ways. And, it's plenty of interpretations to be had in this conversation. But Spider-Man is so much more than just that moment with Uncle Ben. And so I don't see the same parallels there. No, granted, in terms of just like if you really boil it down to its baseline simplicity, sure, parent is murdered, but it's like I don't see Spider-Man being the same way. I don't see him necessarily feeling the need to abide by a hard lock no-kill rule. It's certainly not something he ever talks about.
So Ross, we do see him talk about it in the first Civil War, in the first comic book Civil War. He talks,
in the comics,
right,
sure.
In the comics. So let's just focus on comics and the characters here for now. But Spider-Man does express that he's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's supposed to be a guardian. He is a beacon of light. He takes the harder route. right? It's what he's always done. It's the same as Batman. They take the harder route because it is they have a strong moral standing that's necessary, and it's just part
But
of.
then what is that? But then what does that say about the Avengers? And why should we
Right.
believe in them? Because they don't.
It's
It's just so
the way they're
fascinating to me
written.
because this is not a conversation that everybody has. And it's so right in your nose, right? I mean, it's like, and the reason I kind of thought about this a lot was because I was just thinking, I think what got me thinking about this was like when they went to the Hydra base in Age of Ultron in 2015, they are wiping those guys out.
Dude, Mjolnir,
Granted,
they're human beings. Mjolnir is cutting through them like butter, dude. I mean, it's
I mean, like,
pulverizing them.
the second he sees Dr. List, I mean, Tony just blasts the guy away. Brutally murdering them. And granted, they deserve it, right? But it's like, obviously, it gets to a point where it's like you also have to question why also kill and why it's not a conversation to be had. And granted, when you're dealing with Ultron bots or you're dealing with Thanos and the entire universe is at stake, sure. It makes sense there. But otherwise, when it's not an absolute necessity, they still go around killing whoever's in their way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect them. It doesn't bother them. And I just think it's really fascinating. Because I don't think any lesser of Cap or Tony or the Avengers as they do go around murdering people. But I just find it fascinating that there's just such a closed off barrier in the conversation of Batman and Spider-Man have to have no kill rules. But the Avengers, I know they're fine.
Well, no,
They can kill
that does go back to the complexity of the characters.
But I'm saying, like, it's just not a thing that people really think about, and I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think that like specifically the way that the comic book fans address it. I mean, there's conflicts, man. There's trouble. There's disagreements, and I think that's a big thing as well. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of okay with a version of Spider-Man that does kill people. I'm okay with a version of Batman that does kill people. Right?
Yeah, and this is why it didn't really bother me in Batman versus Superman. It didn't
because that's not our Batman, dude. That's a new Batman.
Right,
so
and listen, like, granted, I don't think it was necessary for him to abandon the no rule. I do think they should have kept it, but I also it didn't ruin that iteration of Batman for me. But anyway, Tate, I think that's it, my dude.
Yeah. So in closing, Batman and Spider-Man are just awesome.
Just in their own separate ballpark from the Avengers, man.
They're from all of comics. I mean, when you look at comics as a whole, I mean, Marvel, it's fine in my opinion. DC, it's really good in my opinion. But there's nothing like Batman. There's nothing like Spider-Man. They're just so complex.
Yeah.
I love these characters, man. I mean, these are a lot. And Lego Pete says, "There's no point of Batman if he kills." Dude, you are very incorrect. I think I didn't. Sorry to keep the conversation going.
I don't agree with that.
I think you're very incorrect because dude, you can write if you're saying that it's a new Batman, right? You can shape that Batman however you want. It'll be a new perspective of the character, right? I'm okay with saying a new Batman. We see a Batman who kills, right, during Flashpoint, and that's a new character. We see Azrael go on a bloodlust rampage.
We see Christian Bale kill people at the end of The Dark Knight Rises because it became necessary.
Right.
It's...
Right. I mean,
at some point, you wonder if, for like the future Robert Pattinson Batman or Tom Holland Spider-Man, if it's something that they'll ever face the characters with, especially if they like take a joke, an iteration of the Joker for Robert Pattinson Batman to go against, and they take that relationship all the way. Will they eventually get to that Dark Knight Returns moment where it's like, how many people have I already murdered by letting you live?
Right.
And I think that's a really interesting place to ultimately take the characters with their no kill rule, because while it is noble, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder because the Avengers always save the day. There is no Joker around
Right.
to go around killing more people when the Avengers are done. You know? And the world spins on better than it was when those villains were alive. What if they let Ultron live? What if they let, what if, if they couldn't neutralize the threat, what if they let Thanos live?
Right. Yeah, so that's the thing as well with Batman, is because of the fact that he always leaves his antagonists alive, right? You get these really, really nice stories that really push his sanity. That's why Batman goes insane almost every issue.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that'll do it for today.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining in. Lego Pete 3 and SL Savage, despite it looked like you guys getting a little heated. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for hanging out. And Tim, appreciate you as always, my dude, in the MF and Stroke 7567. All of you guys, Dark Brick, Aiden, thank you guys so much for joining in. If I missed your name, it's just because I didn't want to read off like 20 names. But thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome. This is a great episode, and we will catch you guys in the next episode, this time, 2 o'clock Eastern, next Sunday for our Spider-Man Far From Home review.
Oh god, I accidentally just accepted a horrible comment. That's hilarious. I gotta remove that. Oh god. Oh god, did you see that? Oh god. Oh man, that was a funny comment.
Yeah,
man.
SL, watch it, dude. Watch it.
Jeez. Dark Brick Productions, there's your shout out, dude. Thanks for coming out. Nick Frozen Nuggets, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, Ian, as always, great to have you, dude.
That's so savage. He's just stopping the messages, man. We gotta end the podcast now. Anyway,
right,
guys, that'll do it. Thank you guys so much for coming out. And remember, guys, we are inevitable.